Long down the right side, caught, touchdown, Washington State.
Booby, he is there, Booby. 60, long three.
What a catch by Phillip Bobo.
The Palouse is gonna pop.
All right, we're here with another episode of the Fieldhouse Report with arguably the best swimmer in Washington State Cougar history, Emily Lundgren. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. It is certainly an honor to have you on this show. Just obviously, we all got to watch your amazing season, but then really doing some research over the last week, understanding the gravity of this season. You know, not only were you the Mountain West Swimmer of the Year, Mountain West Conference Championship Swimmer of the Meet, but you led the Cougs to their first 8-0 season in program history.
Yep.
So when we say the best swimmer ever, we should be having the conversation about the best athlete of all time at Washington State. Not to mention, I've mentioned all the athletic accolades, but a 4.0 student on top of all of that. So spring semester's wrapping up. How much more do you have to go?
We have 2 weeks left. I just have 2 final projects to turn in, and then I'm done. I'm so excited to kind of wrap up this semester. It's been going really well. I mean, the academics kind of take care of itself. I love my major and I love what I do. So, I've been a student athlete my entire life. So it kind of comes pretty easily for me.
That's awesome. Well, I just want to make sure I get this right. Digital technology and culture major.
Yes.
I don't think that was a major when I was at Washington State. I could be wrong, but what does that mean? What are you hoping to do with that in the future?
Yeah. What I really like about it is that there's so many different routes you can go.
Right.
I think when I was kind of sitting down to apply, once I committed here, I thought I was going to go into kinesiology, but my mom was like, "You're a little too creative. I think you should go like a different route." I was like, "Okay." So we were looking, found digital technology and culture, and saw that there are so many routes to do. And so what I really want to do with it is sports videography. I have an internship with WSU Athletics sports video, creative video. So I get to, go to like the basketball games and football games. And sometimes I get a film, which is fun. And then I get what I filmed and it gets posted on social media, which is really fun to see kind of my work. So doing that since my freshman year, that's definitely what I want to kind of continue doing and kind of do after college.
Oh, that is a blast. That's actually, I've been editing and working. I worked for the WSU video department for a while. Jared Prenguber over there, awesome guy. But yeah, it's so fun. And editing the video is so fun. And then showing people and getting to see their reactions off of it. It's awesome. I've been doing it for 10 years or so now. So it's a blast. It doesn't always pay the best, but it's really fun.
I think as long as you're having fun with it, it doesn't really matter.
True. That's awesome. Well, I'd love to see some of your work one of these times.
Yes.
That'd be awesome. All right. So you're done with the season. You're almost done with school. Does that mean you're going home for the summer, or do you stay in Pullman over the summer? What's your plans? Okay.
I'm going to be training for the USA Nationals, which is the beginning of June. And then hopefully we'll make a team, hopefully the World University Games team, and I'll get to go to Germany this summer, kind of in the end of July, and compete there. So I'll be here this summer training, getting the work in.
All right. That's awesome. Are your teammates staying as well then, or?
Some of them, we're kind of in and out. I think we have the biggest group. I think there's maybe 12 or 13. Give or take a few that are going to stay here for a majority of the summer, which is nice because training alone is never fun.
No, and like Pullman is so fun, but when everybody's gone, it can be a pretty quiet place. So yeah, that's good. I'm glad your teammates are sticking around, and you're gonna. If there was ever a time to stay in Pullman, the summer is where it's at. I feel like it's sort of a rite of passage for any Coug to have that summer that they spend in the Palouse.
I agree. I kind of stayed a little bit last summer, and it was quiet and peaceful, and it was nice. So I don't completely mind it.
All right. Well, we talked in the opener about your accolades from this past season. Take us back through it. Was this what you expected to do this season? Was it a surprise to you? Just what were some of the moments that you look back on that you say, this is something that I'll remember for a long time?
Yeah, I think, looking at the season as a whole, especially when you're kind of listing some of those, I was like, wow, like I did do that. Like that is cool. I think going into this season, we had big goals. We definitely wanted to go 8-0. That's something we talked about, at our team retreat. I didn't expect to get Mountain West Conference Swimmer of the Year or Swimmer of the Meet. Those two were, I think deserved, but I wasn't really expecting them going into the season. And kind of going to NCAA's, the beginning of the season, I knew I wanted to go back, wanted to go for a third time in the row. And I wanted to place top 8. I wanted to stand on that podium and get that trophy. I think I had that goal since obviously freshman year, but last year when I missed out on that opportunity just by a little bit. And so since then, that's kind of what I have been going every single day is I'm getting there and I'm going to get on that podium and I'm getting that trophy. So, I think I knew I wanted to do it and I did it. So I'm very, very excited about that.
Yeah, I think a lot of the best athletes, we've gotten to interview some on this podcast, and when you listen to them on other shows, one of the things that they mention is just that visualization. I'm actually going to talk to Luke Falk here in a couple of days, and he's big on just like seeing the success and that being a huge part of the process.
Yeah, we have a new board that was just donated to us that has Olympic trial qualifiers, NCAA qualifiers, and then NCAA All-Americans. And I got my name up on all 3 of those last year, which was really cool. But the NCAA All-American, I was honorable mention last year. And so during every practice, especially the hard ones, I would look up there and be like, yeah, that's where I want to be back again. And I want to be first team. I want to, have that solidified. And so having that, every single hard practice, I would just turn around and look at that. And it was a great reminder of like what I was working for.
Yeah, I think if more athletes honestly took that approach, there'd be more stories like yours. Now, you are the first swimmer to make an NCAA final since 2000. So that was 25 years ago. I don't know how old you were in 2000, but I was only 3. So that's going a little ways back.
Yeah.
And then you've qualified for the NCAAs now. This is the 3rd year in a row. With all that you accomplished, I should also mention 4 records broken last season.
Yes.
What are you looking at for next year? Obviously, you want to qualify again for the NCAAs, but is winning the whole thing the goal for next season?
Kind of stepping back and, I completed some of my biggest goals in swimming. I wanted to make it to the Olympic trials. I did that last year. And then this year getting on that podium. So I really had to take a step back. I'm like, well, I got everything I wanted out of this sport that I thought I wanted. And so I think, putting it out there, I think, yeah, obviously it would be really cool to win a national championship and I'm going to work for it. But I think my main goal next year is to really take in everything as it being my last collegiate year and helping the team. I think we have an amazing incoming class of recruits and everyone that's returning. We have some really big goals and I think we're going to achieve a lot of them, which I'm really excited about. So kind of just being like that role model on the team and, helping other people's dreams come true and get more people to NCAAs. I think if the most we've had is 3. And so I think if we can get, a relay and a couple more people, that will make not only the experience much more fun, but I think it'll give me motivation when I'm there, having my whole team there, which will be good.
Yeah, well, it's definitely becoming a program that as an alum and fan, we're very proud of. It seems like every single time I'm on Twitter, I'm checking in, it's like, oh, we're breaking another record and we're sending another person to this final. So it's definitely been the pride of the alumni base and fans for sure. So someone, I'll admit, not a huge swim fan, haven't watched a ton of swimming. Can you take us through the breaststroke? What are the rules? What are the technicalities? What are the strategies that you use to be good at it?
Yeah.
I want to learn.
This is interesting. I don't know if I've ever explained it to someone. So breaststroke is kind of like a frog. It's the frog stroke. That's kind of how I explain it. So it's a little different than other strokes because you don't get an underwater dolphin kick. So you only get one of them when you're underwater and you pull your hands down, you get one kick. And so, yeah, and there's a lot, trying to think, I don't know all the rules, but I know there's a long list of you have to make sure your heels are pointed a certain way. And when you touch the wall, you have to touch with 2 hands. You can't touch with 1 or you'll get DQ'd. So there's a lot of little things that, you learn when you're super young. Kind of a fun fact is I used to not be able to do breaststroke. Anytime I would swim as I started swimming when I was 7, anytime I would start swimming breaststroke, I would immediately get disqualified. So my coach did not think I would be a breaststroker, and it kind of developed over the years, and obviously now I am, so that's pretty cool. But yeah, there's a lot of little technicalities that I think even I don't really think of anymore, but it's kind of just like a second nature to do.
Yeah. One of the things as I was watching some of your highlights that I'm just like, I don't know how you do it, is when you're straining that hard to go underwater and hold your breath. That has to be difficult.
Yeah, we train. I was just talking to someone about this the other day. We train a lot of underwaters. You know, the fastest part of your racing is underwater.
Right.
So we do a ton of breath control work, and it definitely in the moment is hard, but I can feel it pay off in the races. You know, underwaters are my best part of my races. I will kind of shoot out in front if I need to during those. I think it is a skill to kind of be able to hold our breath for that long, but we do train a lot of it. So
Yeah. And then you do 100 and 200 and individual medley.
yes.
Do you feel like, I feel like the 200 has to be a little bit challenging because it does require some of that stamina, but it is a pretty fast race still in total.
Yeah, I kind of split my training. We have 3 different groups. We have a sprint group, a mid distance, and a distance group. I split my time between the mid distance and sprint group so I can build my stamina in that mid distance group. And I do a lot of like longer sets, doing breaststroke, and then kind of switching over half the week to the sprint where I'm working more of that like fast twitch and getting that speed for like the 100 and the 200 individual medley, like you said. So kind of splitting my time between that, I think that it's good and also mixes up my training. So I'm not just fully focusing on one aspect and then kind of get sick of it. So switching between those two, I think, is really nice.
Right. Now you grew up in San Diego. Were you just born in the water? When did you mentioned you started like really swimming when you were 7, but I assume you probably were just around it all the time.
Yeah, so I was a ballet dancer for since I was 2. I was put in ballet. And I have an older sister. She swam for UC Santa Cruz in
Okay.
California. And so she started swimming and I was kind of being dragged around to all her, you know, events and stuff. And I was like, it was my 7th birthday and I spent it in a hotel room for one of her meets. And I was like, told my mom, I was like, that's it. Like, I'm swimming. I can't just like be here anymore. So they put me in the water and I started getting pretty good really fast. And my coach was like, she's gonna be good. And I was moving up pretty quickly. And, you know, it came pretty naturally. Yeah. And so I had a lot of fun. But yeah, my sister's the main reason I started swimming.
Gotcha. Now, would you say you're the better swimmer at this point? I mean, you don't have to throw shade at your sister, but let's just.
Yes. It's kind of, there's like I don't know if it's a curse, but the younger sibling always seems to be faster than the older siblings. But, you know, my sister, she got to be at NCAAs and she said she just started crying after my prelim swim when I qualified for finals. So I don't think she really is too, you know, upset that I kind of am faster. She's one of my biggest supporters. So
that's awesome. Is your brother a swimmer too?
No, he would wake up in the morning and be like, do I have to go to swimming today? You know, we try to put him in every sport possible, and he just wasn't having it. He did BMX for a little bit, but he is a musician. He can play any instrument under the sun, and he's very good. He's in a rock band, and he does understand swim, so I think he follows along. Yeah, I don't think you could pay him to get in the water. So
now I heard you're a bit of a musician too. You play the drums?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. Is that like your number one hobby outside of swimming, or do you have others?
I really like painting as well. I think painting that's kind of crazy to say. I think playing the drums and painting are 2 completely different things, but I'm also an art minor, so, you know, getting to take some painting classes and stuff really helps with my creative side and is a little bit more calm. And then when I need to get like a little bit more energy out, I go play the drums.
Nice. Yeah, honestly, I think painting and drumming kind of go together, right? It's a creative part of your brain. Definitely a part of the brain I do not have. I can't do anything even relatively musical or swim. So really talking to you is like, this is crazy. It's so talented. Okay. So you grow up in San Diego, sunny San Diego, warm San Diego. What draws you to the Palouse? What was your recruiting experience like?
Yeah, so I remember I was being recruited during COVID. So, you know, not being able to see any of the campuses was very weird and really stressful because I was like, I would put off kind of talking about anything with my parents. I was like, I don't know. And then, as it kind of came around and kept getting more and more phone calls and emails and having these talks, I was like very overwhelmed. But I remember my very first call with Washington State was with our now head coach, Coach Russ. And it was pretty long, and it was just like a Zoom call, and I got kind of shown everything. And I remember seeing the weight room, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I went to my parents, I was like, Washington State is kind of cool. And my parents were like maybe, I don't know. They remember me kind of after my second call, I was like, oh yeah, like I really like Washington State. And they're like, oh, like, And I remember our past head coach came on a visit to my house and talked with my parents and was showing us more things. And my parents were kind of getting on board. And then after kind of the COVID dead period came, or after the COVID dead period was released, we got to come visit campus, which was really nice. And I think my dad was ready for me to commit. He bought like a t-shirt and a jacket and a hat. And the coach was like, I think I have your dad ready. Your mom's on the fence, but I'm actually just still trying to convince you. And I was like, oh, it's from the beginning, I was like, Washington State's pretty cool. And, then from there, I was like, yes, like Washington State, this is where I want to be. I think one of the coolest moments was when I was on my visit. I was super stressed and I was kind of like, this is too much. Like, I have no clue. But we went back to my hotel room and we were looking, or hotel lobby, and we were looking at this picture, and it was from the Apple Cup, like many, many, many years ago. And this couple kind of came up to me and was like, oh, like, what are you doing here? I was like, oh, I'm on a recruiting visit, like thinking about joining the swim team. And they were kind of telling me they're like, oh, we're both alums here and we love it and we come back here all the time. And they're like, and fun fact, the picture you're looking at, we're actually sitting right here, and like showed me where they were sitting. And I was like, wow, like this is some place that like I could come back to, for many years to come. And, the pride that people have was crazy. And I remember I landed back in San Diego and I was wearing a Cougs shirt and I got like 3 Go Cougs, and I was like, whoa, this is kind of crazy. And I committed shortly after that and haven't looked back since.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, it's being a Coug is such a unique experience in that way. I remember, I think it was Drew Bledsoe that said, I could have gone to another university and done great things, and I would have just been another cog in their machine. But by choosing to go to Washington State, I etched myself in a lore and a history that'll be celebrated for years to come. I mean, without a doubt, with the way you're putting Washington State swimming on the map, I would not be surprised if down the road we're talking about the Emily Lundgren pool at Washington State University, and that's a unique experience, and it's again something that we have pride in and identify with. Like, honestly, when you're out there representing us at nationals, you're representing, I feel I'm watching thinking you're representing me. You have that Cougar Head logo on your cap, and so when I wear this the next day, I feel that connection. So it's a pretty cool experience.
Yeah, thank you so much. I definitely think like anytime I step in the pool, we've kind of talked about it as a team, we're representing everyone that reps a Coug logo. So I'm definitely filled with pride when I do. And I'm happy that people are proud of me for what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for, leaving a paradise in San Diego and coming out to the Palouse. We were talking a little bit before we got on the air about hair freezing, and that's not something you deal with in San Diego.
No, I think, the swimming indoors and swimming outdoors, during the summertime, I miss kind of being tan year round outside. And, I want to get in the pool because I'm too warm, but here I'm walking to practice bundled up. I have like 6 layers on. I'm like, this does not seem appealing. And then I get out and I walk like 2 feet to a different building and my hair is already frozen and like crunchy. So it's interesting.
It does get pretty warm here in the summer. Do you ever get the chance to swim outside anywhere in Pullman, or is it pretty much just like get pool, that's it?
I think we get to swim a little bit outside this summer. I think Rainy Park, which I'm very excited about. I need to be swimming outside for a little bit.
Well, it's a nice pool. My family has a season pass there. I actually live right up the hill from Rainy Park, so it's a decent setup. It's kind of like straight out of like 1980s movie. It's all concrete and chain link fence, but
it's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun that way. Okay, so you talked about some of your musical skills, your painting skills. If there was one sport at Wazoo that you would excel at,
outside
of swimming,
no.
what would it be?
I could tell you the sports I wouldn't excel at.
Okay, that works. That works.
Longer list. Well, I've thrown out the first pitch at baseball twice.
Yes.
Did not go well. I think my parents still bring up that it bounced last year. If I get the chance to do it this year, I have to start practicing. So, no, but I think I did volleyball for a little bit in high school, and when I say a little bit, I think it was 2 weeks, and then I stopped. So I think I could do volleyball for
2 weeks.
I'm not very coordinated. Like, I don't think I could do soccer. I think I would trip over my own feet. Golf, I can't do golf or tennis. So I think I really chose the best sport for me. I don't have to have really much coordination. So.
Well, I guess then maybe a better question would be, what sport do you look up to the most? Is there another athlete at Washington State that you're like, wow, that person really amazes me?
Oh, I mean, there's kind of a lot. I think I made a lot of athlete friends this year, which is kind of fun.
That's awesome.
But she was recently on her podcast. I definitely look up to Tara. We've kind of had a leadership class together this semester, and we call each other co-workers because she's been working in the video office a little bit. So,
nice.
Looking up to her this year was pretty cool. And I remember we became pretty good friends. And she, as I was kind of making all these accomplishments, we get to class, and she's like, "Oh, Emily, how many records did you break this time?" Or we were walking to one of my classes, and I think she told everyone as we were walking by, she's like, "This is the swimmer of the year. This is the swimmer of the year." And I was like, it was nice to have support, but that's a little bit more on the shy side. So I was like, you don't have to tell people that.
That's awesome. I know that the athletes to some degree are sort of siloed into hanging out in certain places. Do you have a favorite spot on campus that you like to go, a favorite restaurant in town, anything like that?
Ooh. I love Porchlight Pizza. That's my go-tos, but I don't eat dairy. So I usually get a dairy-free cheese or no cheese at all, and my team kind of roasts me about it, but I love it. But we also, as a team, we go to Mylina's a lot over in Moscow. That's a good little, we all like to get dressed up a little bit, so we're not all cap and goggle, wet hair. We like to clean up a little bit, so going there is nice, especially for birthdays.
Yeah, free pizza on your birthday at Mylina's. Yes. Yeah, that's Moscow, I think, as a whole, probably has better restaurants than Pullman.
Yeah, I think
at least at this point.
Times.
And probably better shopping too at the mall and stuff there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So if I had to make you choose your favorite, that's one of the questions I had on here. And this is hotly debated every time we bring this question up. But like, the best restaurant in Pullman is Porchlight?
I mean,
or do you have to roll with something else?
I think definitely probably Birch and Barley is the best one. I think it's just, I usually go when my parents are here, so they pay for me. But yeah, like my go-to is definitely Porchlight, but if I want if I want steak, Barley.
Okay, so that's the go-to order then too.
Yeah.
Steak. Okay. Nice. All right. So do you have a favorite, or sorry, not a favorite teammate? I would never make you choose that. That'd be mean. But do you have a funniest teammate?
Oh, easily. This is the easiest question I've ever had to answer in my life. Darcy Revitt. She's the freshman that made it to NCAAs. I've never met anyone like her, and I love her. We got to room together for NCAAs and Mountain West championships, and I have never laughed so much in my life. Just like a little context, I was when she came on her recruiting visit, I was her host, and she was really quiet, and then one day she's just like, "Oh, like, let's play a game." And so we started playing a game, and it was kind of interesting. It was a British game, and then she's like, "Okay, now to decide the winner, we have to have a moo-off." And I was like, "What's a moo-off?" And you have to go on all fours and stare at each other, and you moo at each other until someone starts laughing. And I was like, this personality came out of nowhere, and so I was really excited when she finally was getting here. I was like, she's the moo-off girl. And she's just the funny, she doesn't try to be funny, she just is inherently funny and is cracking jokes all the time and is mooing at people. She also started barking at people. That sounds really bad, but something that we kind of get going. If she's nervous, she just kind of gets us going. And so funniest teammate's definitely Darcy.
That is amazing. Well, we definitely want to have Darcy on the podcast, and that is now the number one question I'm going to ask her. I might just start mooing when she gets on and just see how she responds.
I think you should. she'll be confused on how you know that, but
She honestly, based on what you're telling me, she might just start moving back. I don't know.
or some other. She also likes making pig noises, and she can have a whole farm. And
Okay.
randomly every day, it's a new animal noise for her. So,
Well, I'll stick on the subject of teammates. So we have Darcy is the funniest. What is one swimmer on the team right now that you feel like Coug fans might not know about, but should definitely watch out for next season?
that's a good one. I'm trying to think. Oh,
It can be Darcy. I know everybody knows
yeah,
her, but
I feel like I would say Darcy again. I think, for her to do what she did in her freshman year, like I said my freshman year, I was dead last at NCAAs, and she was able to get 17th. So I think her experience that she has and her work ethic, and now that she's kind of got the ball rolling, it's going to be scary to see what she can do next year. So I would say Darcy again.
that's awesome. Now, I know that as an athlete, you're supposed to say, well, I'm going to focus on myself. And that's really the goal, is to become the best swimmer I can be. But having been a former athlete myself, I know that there's some competition that you're eyeing.
Yeah.
Who, and at your level, it's really the national stage that you're eyeing. What other swimmers do you feel like that's who I got to beat in order to win the national title next year?
I think, the Stanford girl that won this year, I think that's definitely, as a defending champion going into next year, you kind of have to, that's kind of, you have your eye on. With swimming, it's so interesting, things could change within a year. You could have kind of an off season, you could have a really good season. There could be some people that kind of come out of nowhere. So I think, I don't get too focused on who until kind of the second half. Then I kind of see where everyone's at after the season meet. So right now it's just kind of getting back to work and getting me in the position that I feel most comfortable and ready at, and then kind of breaking down everyone else later.
Awesome. What do you feel like is, okay, so next year you dominate, you win the national title. That's the plan. After your time at Washington State, what are you hoping to do?
According to my dad, it's get my bachelor's in business administration. We have calls all the time. He's like, oh yeah, this is what you're doing. And he's partially joking, but that is the goal, is to, I think I want to further my education. And with swimming being not really a sport that you go pro in, ideally I'd like to train for 2 more years after college and go to the next Olympic trials and, try and make it to LA 2028. That's kind of like the ultimate goal for, I guess, any swimmer or a lot of athletes, is to make it to the Olympics. So ideally would be able to train for 2 more years while furthering my education.
Awesome. I love it. Well, Emily, I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you taking the time to be on our show. I just wish the best things for you next season and afterwards. And go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Thank you so much.